Tonight, family, gather around, because the meltdown happening on both sides of the Atlantic is nothing short of historic. A single 8-second joke, a tiny, harmless, perfectly crafted piece of late-night comedy, has managed to send the entire British tabloid establishment into cardiac arrest. And as usual, they're dragging out the same tired lines they've been recycling since 2020. Harry must lose his titles. Harry has gone too far. Harry is political. Harry is this. Harry is that. But let's talk about what really happened, because when you strip away the fake outrage, when you push past the performative pearl-clutching, what remains is simple. Prince Harry was being charismatic, confident, funny and free, and they cannot stand it. Because on Wednesday night, while Stephen Colbert was doing what Stephen Colbert does, which is comedy, satire and intelligent political jabs, Harry stepped onto that stage with a level of ease and charm that the entire royal PR machine has been trying to destroy for years. He wasn't stiff, he wasn't nervous, he wasn't looking over his shoulder for palace approval. He was just Harry, warm, witty, relaxed, secure in himself and secure in his American home with his wife and kids. And that is the real crime, according to the British press. What they saw on The Late Show wasn't a prince out of control. It wasn't some international scandal. What they saw was a man who has fully stepped outside the institution's shadow, and they hate that even more than the Oprah interview, even more than Spare, even more than the Netflix series. Because every time Harry looks healthy, joyful and self-assured, it exposes how unnecessary the monarchy is. It exposes that he never needed them. It exposes that their titles don't define him. And it exposes that the narrative they sold, "Harry is lost without the royal family," was a lie. So now the tabloids are screaming, "Take his titles." Why? Because he made a joke that Trump fans themselves joke about every single day online? Because Harry pointed out, with perfect comedic timing, that Americans elected a king. Please. The joke wasn't even political. It was observational humour. It was comedy. It was television. It was literally written by Colbert's writers. And yet here we are, watching the British media pretend that Harry just walked into Parliament with a megaphone and declared a revolution. But exaggeration is the only thing they have left. They cannot attack his reputation. He reclaimed it. They cannot attack his work ethic. He works harder now than any working royal. They cannot attack his marriage. It keeps proving them wrong. So the only card left is this absurd fantasy that removing his titles will punish him, break him, bring him back, intimidate him. Let's be very clear. Prince Harry does not need those titles. The monarchy needs those titles attached to him. Why? Because Harry is the only member of that family with genuine global influence. He is the only one with a platform bigger than the institution that tried to silence him. And the palace knows that as long as Harry carries the dukedom, the world sees him as the royal who got out, the one who chose love over duty, authenticity over performance, truth over tradition. And that terrifies them. So they deploy a writer, Tom Sykes, who decides to rewrite reality and stretch Reddit conspiracy theories into a moral warning. He says Harry walked into danger, as if Harry hasn't been surviving their smear campaigns for 8 straight years. He claims Harry doesn't understand the politics of America, even though Harry has navigated political storms here with far more grace than many American politicians themselves. And then comes the line that truly exposes the desperation of the anti-Harry crowd. The titles must be removed, not as punishment, but for clarity. Clarity! Clarity for whom? The British public, who already can't tell the difference between a working and non-working royal? The tabloids, who know the difference but pretend not to because misinforming their readers makes them money? Or the palace, which has never once clarified why Andrew keeps his titles, while Harry, the man who committed 0 crimes, is the favourite scapegoat? This isn't about clarity. This is about punishment disguised as protocol. This is about resentment dressed up as tradition. This is about jealousy, plain and simple. Because while Harry is thriving, William is trending for what? Affairs? PR disasters? Mood boards? Internal staff chaos? And Kate is trending for what? Vanishing for months, reappearing in bizarre palace-crafted statements, and hiding behind Kensington Palace's increasingly sloppy messaging. Contrast that with Harry, a man who shows up on American television confident, joyful and unbothered, while the entire monarchy continues to unravel from within. And let's talk about arrogance, because the funniest part of that Royalist article was the claim that Americans view Harry as a representative of the monarchy, or that Americans are sitting around worrying how Charles or William feel when Harry makes a joke. Please. Americans barely think about Charles unless there's a coronation or a scandal. They don't wake up thinking, "Oh no, Harry said something. How will King Charles cope?" Americans like Harry because he is authentic. They like him because he escaped a system they consider archaic. They like him because he married Meghan, a woman they adore, and stood by her through racist, abusive campaigns. Harry is beloved here not because of his title, but because of his humanity. Meanwhile, the palace still thinks people in America view them like some kind of holy relic. They cannot accept that the world moved on. The monarchy sells less influence than a Netflix subscription. And Harry, whether they like it or not, is the only reason half the world still pays attention to them. But here's the deeper truth the palace and the tabloids refuse to acknowledge. No matter what they take from Harry, they cannot take his voice. They cannot take his platform. They cannot take his integrity. They cannot take his family. They cannot take his global respect. And they cannot take the fact that he walked away. And they stayed trapped. This obsession with removing Harry's titles is nothing more than a coping mechanism, a fantasy, a security blanket for people who cannot handle the fact that the Sussexes left and built something better. Harry is not trying to get deported. Harry is not craving the spotlight. Harry is not undermining anything. He is living his life with freedom most royals envy but will never admit. The only people undermining the crown are the ones inside the palace leaking stories every day, the ones faking unity, the ones bending over backward to protect a future king who cannot control his temper or his press narrative. Harry made one joke, and the entire monarchy shook like a tree in a storm. If a single comedy skit threatens the stability of the British crown, maybe the problem isn't Harry. Maybe the problem is the crown. And family, this is why Meghan and Harry continue to win. They move with purpose. They represent compassion, progress, and authenticity. They live in truth, not performative tradition. And that is what scares the institution the most. Now, as we wind down this deep dive into royal hypocrisy, let me say this. If you love this kind of commentary, if you appreciate the truth without the palace filter, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, and if you want to support the channel and keep these conversations going, feel free to donate through Super Thanks. It really helps keep independent royal commentary alive, because the truth matters. Harry and Meghan matter, and their story deserves to be told accurately, not through the lens of people who resent their freedom.